Hello everyone, and thank you for visiting our channel. Today, we'll be delving into the lives of talented actors who left us too soon, often without us even realizing it. From Hollywood icons to rising stars, these individuals made significant contributions to the world of entertainment before their untimely passing. Before we begin, we ask for your support. If this video or their legacy has touched your life, please like it as a sign of respect. Thank you. Now let's begin. Marilyn Monroe, the tragic life of a Hollywood icon and her mysterious death at 36. Marilyn Monroe, the iconic starlet and eternal symbol of glamour, tragically passed away at just 36, leaving behind a legacy both breathtaking and heartbreaking. Her lifeless body was discovered in the early hours of August 5, 1962, by her housekeeper in her Los Angeles home. Official reports stated she died from a barbiturate overdose, but the silence surrounding her final hours has fueled decades of speculation and sorrow. Born Norma Jean Mortensen, Marilyn overcame a turbulent childhood in foster care to rise as Hollywood's most captivating presence. With unforgettable performances in Some Like It Hot, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and The 7-Year Itch, she became the definitive blonde bombshell, a beacon of beauty, charm, and vulnerability. But fame came with a heavy cost. Behind the dazzling smile were deep scars of abandonment, mental illness, and heartbreak. 3 failed marriages, including to baseball legend Joe DiMaggio and playwright Arthur Miller, left her searching for lasting love. She battled depression and addiction, often alone, and faced public scrutiny with fragile grace. In her final weeks, she posed for the haunting Last Sitting photo series, a poignant glimpse into a woman still longing to be seen beyond the spotlight. Her ties to the Kennedy brothers remain the subject of whispers, further clouding her untimely departure. Joe DiMaggio never stopped loving her. He arranged her funeral and famously kept the Kennedys away, later saying, "I always knew who killed her." Today, Marilyn Monroe remains more than a legend. She is a mirror of fame's brilliance and its shadows. May she rest in light at last. Kim Woodburn, the straight-talking star of How Clean Is Your House, has passed away at 83. The beloved British TV icon, known for her candid charm and unforgettable presence, has died following a short illness. Her manager confirmed the news, adding that her devoted husband, Peter, is heartbroken by the loss of his soulmate. "My wonderful, beautiful Kim passed away last night. God bless my love," he wrote in a moving tribute. Kim rose to fame as the co-host of How Clean Is Your House, where her brisk wit and sparkling gloves made cleanliness compelling television. With Aggie McKenzie by her side, she turned household chores into a national sensation from 2003 to 2009. Her outspoken personality later found new audiences through appearances on Loose Women, This Morning, and the 2017 season of Celebrity Big Brother. That season, her emotional clashes and unfiltered honesty captivated viewers and sparked over 3,000 complaints to Ofcom. Yet behind the headlines was a woman who had endured and transcended life's messier moments with resilience and flair. Producer Lee Smithurst remembered her fondly. She was everything you would want her to be. In a world too often polished, Kim Woodburn stood for truth, toughness, and unapologetic individuality. She may be gone, but her voice, sharp, sincere, unforgettable, lives on in memory and in millions of homes she once made brighter. Brian Wilson, the visionary behind the Beach Boys' Golden Sound, has passed away at the age of 82. The family of Brian Wilson confirmed his passing on June 11, 2025, in a heartfelt message shared online. Though no official cause of death was released, the music legend had been battling dementia since early 2024, a condition that gradually dimmed his once brilliant spark. As the founding genius behind the Beach Boys, Wilson reshaped pop music with a sound as bright and boundless as the California sun. Albums like Pet Sounds and masterpieces like God Only Knows and Wouldn't It Be Nice stood at the crossroads of innocence and complexity, pure, experimental, and profoundly moving. His studio became a sanctuary for sonic innovation, where bicycle bells, dog barks, and harpsichords mingled in perfect harmony. But behind the harmonies lay hardship. Deaf in one ear, plagued by depression, and weighed down by the myth of genius, Wilson stepped back from fame, even as his music lived on. Decades later, he returned, triumphantly, completing Smile, winning Grammy honors, and inspiring a new generation of artists. With an estimated net worth of $100 million, Wilson's true legacy isn't measured in awards or accolades, but in waves of sound that continue to echo through time. Fans and musicians alike mourn a gentle force who gave the world summer in a song. Farewell, Brian. Summer's gone, but your music will never fade. Anne Burrell, the vibrant Food Network star and beloved culinary mentor, has passed away at the age of 55. The heartbreaking news was confirmed by her family on June 17, 2025. Anne was found unresponsive in the shower of her Brooklyn home by her husband, Stuart Claxton. Authorities reported signs of cardiac arrest and noted the presence of multiple pills nearby, though the official cause of death remains under investigation. Anne's journey began in upstate New York and took her from the Culinary Institute of America to the kitchens of New York City, and eventually to the hearts of millions on national television. With her signature spiky blonde hair and bold personality, she rose to fame on Worst Cooks in America, becoming one of Food Network's most enduring figures. Her dynamic presence graced shows like Iron Chef America, Chopped, and Secrets of a Restaurant Chef, earning her an Emmy nomination. Beyond her fame, Anne was a teacher, author, and spirited entertainer. Her best-selling cookbooks and decades of television work reflected a lifelong mission to make cooking joyful and empowering. She continued to perform and inspire, even appearing at a Brooklyn improv show just hours before her sudden passing. In a moving tribute, her family wrote, "Her smile lit up every room she entered. Though she is no longer with us, her warmth, spirit, and boundless love remain eternal." With a legacy valued at $4 million, Anne Burrell leaves behind more than recipes. She leaves behind light, laughter, and a kitchen full of memories. Terry Louise Fisher, the trailblazing legal mind behind LA Law and Cagney and Lacey, has passed away at the age of 79. The news was confirmed by family member Mark Zev Hochberg, who shared that Fisher died peacefully this past Tuesday at her home in Laguna Beach. A former assistant district attorney in Los Angeles, Fisher turned her legal insight into television gold, leaving behind a legacy of sharp storytelling and fearless female voices. Beginning her TV career in 1983, Fisher quickly made her mark as a writer and producer on Cagney and Lacey, earning 2 Emmy nominations and 1 win for Outstanding Drama Series. But it was her bold partnership with Stephen Bocco that created LA Law, a groundbreaking legal drama that defined a generation and won 15 Emmys during its 8-season run. Fisher also co-created the dramedy Hooperman with Bochco, and later spearheaded the CBS soap 2000 Malibu Road. Her career wasn't without turbulence. A very public fallout with Bochco led to a $50 million lawsuit and a quiet settlement. Yet Fisher remained gracious in reflection, likening the experience to a divorce, saying, "Sometimes it's just better for everyone to move on." A published author, lawyer, and creator of powerful narratives, Terry Louise Fisher opened doors for women in Hollywood and gave voice to complex characters on screen. Though her pen has fallen silent, her influence continues to shape the stories we tell. May her memory be a blessing, and her work an enduring light. Rick Derringer, the guitar virtuoso behind rock and roll Hoochie Coo, and a guiding force in classic rock, has passed away at the age of 77. The news was shared by his longtime caregiver, Tony Wilson, who announced Derringer's passing on Monday in Ormond Beach, Florida. Though no cause of death was given, he was surrounded by loved ones as he departed peacefully. Rick's musical journey began in teenage stardom with the McCoys and their 1965 hit, Hang On Sloopy. But it was his fiery solo anthem, Rock and Roll, Hoochie Coo, and his Grammy-winning work with Weird Al Yankovic that sealed his status as a rock legend. From laying down the electrifying guitar solo on Total Eclipse of the Heart to producing for Cyndi Lauper and writing Hulk Hogan's iconic theme song, Real American, Rick's fingerprints are found across generations of popular music. His career spanned over 60 years, marked by collaborations with Steely Dan, Kiss, Todd Rundgren, and Ringo Starr's all-star band. Even in later years, he continued to record Christian music and perform at nostalgic rock festivals, keeping the spirit of guitar-driven storytelling alive. Though his financial legacy was modest, an estimated $500,000, his artistic impact was immeasurable. His passing leaves a void in the music world, Wilson wrote. Today, we honor a man whose strings carried the sound of rebellion, joy, and unforgettable rhythm. Rest easy, Rick. Your music still plays on. Peter David, the legendary comic book writer behind The Incredible Hulk, has passed away at the age of 68. His death was confirmed on Sunday by longtime friend and author Keith R.A. DeCandido, who shared heartfelt memories of Peter's wit, brilliance, and lasting friendship. David had been battling a series of serious health complications for several years, including kidney disease, strokes, and breathing difficulties that left him temporarily on a ventilator in his final days. Peter David leaves behind a towering legacy in the world of comic books. Best known for his groundbreaking 12-year run on The Incredible Hulk, he explored the hero's fractured psyche with rare depth. He also gave life to new characters like the Riot Squad and the Pantheon. Beyond Hulk, his pen brought unforgettable stories to Aquaman, Spider-Man 2099, Supergirl, Young Justice, and X-Factor, reshaping the tone of modern superhero storytelling. In his final years, Peter faced not only illness but financial hardship, as he was denied Medicaid and relied on community support through GoFundMe to cover mounting medical costs. Despite these challenges, his resilience and the love of his family, wife Kathleen and daughters Ariel, Shauna, Gwen, and Caroline, sustained him. DeCandido wrote, "I'm just sad I won't get to enjoy his delightfully smart and funny presence ever again." That sentiment echoes through the hearts of fans and fellow creators worldwide. Peter David's voice may be gone, but his stories, rich with imagination and humanity, will continue to inspire for generations to come. Denise Alexander, the beloved soap opera star of General Hospital and Days of Our Lives, has passed away at the age of 85. Her death was confirmed on May 10, 2025, marking the end of a luminous career that spanned over 6 decades. While no official cause was shared, her passing has stirred deep emotion among fans and fellow artists alike. Denise began her journey in the 1950s with a Broadway debut in The Children's Hour, before making waves on television in The Twilight Zone and the early soap The Clear Horizon. But it was her role as Susan Hunter Martin on Days of Our Lives, logging over 800 episodes, and as Dr. Leslie Weber on General Hospital, that etched her name into television history. In 1976, she earned a Daytime Emmy nomination and became one of daytime TV's first female doctors, a trailblazing figure for generations to come. Though she briefly left General Hospital in the 1980s after contract disputes, Denise returned triumphantly in 1996, her character resurrected to the joy of longtime viewers. She remained a cherished presence in the show's most meaningful milestones until her final appearance in 2021. Her colleagues remember her not just for her talent, but for her grace. Actress Jeannie Francis shared, "She imprinted on me. Some of my acting is directly from Denise." Executive producer Frank Valentini called her a barrier breaker on and off screen. Denise Alexander leaves behind a legacy of strength, elegance, and deep emotional storytelling, forever cherished in the hearts of fans who welcomed her into their homes for generations. Robert Benton, the Oscar-winning writer and director behind Kramer vs. Kramer and Places in the Heart, has passed away at the age of 92. His death was confirmed by his son, John Benton, who shared that the legendary filmmaker died peacefully of natural causes at his home in Manhattan on Sunday, May 12, 2025. Born in Waxahachie, Texas, Benton rose from humble beginnings and lifelong struggles with dyslexia to become one of Hollywood's most respected storytellers. He redefined American cinema with Bonnie and Clyde in 1967 and went on to win 3 Academy Awards, including Best Director and Best Screenplay for Kramer vs. Kramer, and Best Original Screenplay for Places in the Heart. His films, often quiet and deeply human, gave voice to complicated emotions and everyday heroism. Benton's career was not without its lulls. After early success, he weathered several critical and commercial setbacks before returning with powerful works like Nobody's Fool, earning Paul Newman one of his final Oscar nods. Through it all, Benton remained a beloved figure among actors, praised for his gentle direction and deep trust in performers. Reflecting on the industry he helped shape, Benton once said, "Home is what I've spent my life looking for." Today, his films continue to offer that sense of home, raw, real, and enduring. He is survived by his son John and leaves behind a legacy of cinematic grace that will inspire generations to come. For many of us who lived through the 1960s, the name Paul McCartney isn't just familiar, it's foundational. His voice, his melodies, his quiet presence felt like a friend at our side through decades of change, heartbreak, and hope. But behind the dazzling lights of global fame, behind the Beatles' suits and record-smashing tours, lived a boy who knew loss far too soon, and who turned sorrow into a symphony that touched the world. Paul McCartney was born on June 18, 1942, in Liverpool, England, a post-war city still licking its wounds. His father, James, was a self-taught pianist who brought music into the home not through instruction, but by gathering his children around the family piano and letting joy fill the room. But the heart of the household, Mary Patricia McCartney, a nurse and the family's steady light, was lost to breast cancer when Paul was just 14. That loss carved something deep into the boy's soul, something that would echo, unknowingly at first, in the lyrics of Let It Be and the haunting melancholy of Yesterday. Decades later, Paul reflected, "I didn't think her death had influenced my music, but now I think it did." That kind of quiet strength, to absorb pain and transmute it into beauty, would become one of McCartney's most defining qualities. Music, in many ways, became his compass. By 15, he was writing songs, learning chords by ear, and falling into rhythm with a rebellious older teen named John Lennon. They met on July 6, 1957, a day fate would underline in history, and within a year, Paul joined Lennon's skiffle group, the Quarrymen. He won over the band by knowing how to sing 20 Flight Rock and, as Lennon would later joke, because he looked like Elvis. As the group morphed into the Beatles, with George Harrison and Ringo Starr joining the ranks, McCartney's natural versatility began to shine. When the band found themselves without a bass player, Paul reluctantly took up the instrument, a decision he described humbly as, "Well, it had better be you then." What followed was one of the greatest comebacks in instrumental history, from a second-choice bassist to Rolling Stone's top 10 bassists of all time. A sobriety journey of ego, perhaps, surrendering lead guitar glory to support the rhythm of the group, but doing so with grace, precision, and boundless creativity. The early 1960s ushered in an era of global hysteria. The Beatles, four boys from Liverpool, became titans of culture. A Hard Day's Night, Can't Buy Me Love, Yesterday, Eleanor Rigby. Each song a snapshot of a generation's growing pains, joys, and doubts. But more than the music, it was the cultural impact they left behind. They didn't just change music, they changed us. Yet beneath the screaming fans and platinum records, the seeds of quiet conflict were taking root. McCartney and Lennon, bound by shared loss and ambition, grew both together and apart. Their songwriting, once a seamless duet, evolved into a silent duel. Paul pens Yesterday, John responds with Norwegian Wood. Paul offers Penny Lane, John answers with Strawberry Fields Forever. As Paul would later admit, it was a great way to keep each other on our toes. Their friendship, complex, magnetic, tragic, would become one of music's most tender legacies. And it all began with two young men writing songs not because they had to, but because they couldn't not. But no legacy comes without its shadows. As the 1960s closed, the Beatles, that cultural force that had once moved as one, began to pull apart. The death of their manager Brian Epstein in 1967 left a vacuum none could fill. Without his calm hand guiding the ship, creative tensions began to simmer. Paul, trying to steer the group forward, found himself increasingly at odds with his bandmates, especially John Lennon. Then, in a quiet moment on September 20th, 1969, Lennon told McCartney and Ringo Starr he was leaving the band. The breakup wasn't dramatic. It was devastating in its silence. I must admit, Paul later confessed, we'd known it was coming. Yet knowing didn't soften the blow. When Paul officially announced the end of the Beatles in April 1970, it sent shockwaves through millions. But no one more than Paul himself. And yet, his response wasn't anger. It was solitude. In the wake of the breakup, Paul disappeared to his farm in Scotland. He wasn't just fleeing the press. He was fleeing grief, doubt, and the collapsing weight of expectations. There, surrounded by sheep, silence, and his camera, Paul began piecing himself back together, and beside him, always, was Linda. Linda McCartney, more than just a photographer or bandmate, was Paul's anchor. They married in 1969, and their bond was instant, deep, and unshakable. She was the only woman I had ever met who was just as strong as me, he once said. Together they raised 4 children, Heather, Mary, Stella, and James, and formed a new band, Wings. Their music was gentler, more experimental. Critics were unkind at first, but Paul, ever the veteran mentor to himself, leaned into his own comeback. Then, tragedy struck again. In 1995, Linda was diagnosed with breast cancer, the same disease that had taken Paul's mother 4 decades earlier. This was no longer a song lyric, it was real and irreversible. Paul stood by her side through every treatment, every change. When she passed away on April 17, 1998, the world mourned, but Paul fell. I think I cried for about a year, he told the BBC, his voice breaking with honesty. It seemed the only thing to do. That sentence, simple, unguarded, revealed a man who had learned to let emotion in without letting it consume him. That was his sobriety journey, not of substances, but of sorrow. Her death changed him. He wrote less, toured less, and took refuge in small joys, raising his children, walking the land, photographing shadows and skies with the same old Pentax camera he'd carried for years. And yet, grief has a strange way of becoming compost for new beginnings. In 2002, he married again, this time to model and activist Heather Mills. But this chapter was stormy. Public fights, vicious tabloid headlines, a $30 million divorce settlement in 2008. It was the closest Paul ever came to scandal. His daughter Stella, by then a renowned fashion designer, publicly criticized the union. The public watched the unraveling like theater. And through it all, Paul remained, as ever, guardedly open. He never lashed out. He rarely explained. Instead, he turned again to music, his quiet redemption. In 2011, he married Nancy Shevell, a longtime friend and businesswoman. With her, he found a stillness that mirrored his own. They split time between London and New York. His days became a rhythm of walking, composing, mentoring younger musicians, and decorating the house elaborately each Christmas. "It's a thing I do," he smiled in a recent interview. "I like seeing the lights." It's in these details, the man who lost two great loves, who once shouted lyrics to arenas, now choosing twinkle lights and quiet, that we see the most meaningful comeback of all, not to fame, but to peace. He never stopped creating, never stopped mentoring, and in the very darkest hours, never stopped believing, as he once told John, "Think about me every now and then, old friend." Today, at 83 years old, Paul McCartney still rises each morning not as a man of nostalgia, but of momentum. He lives part-time between London and the US, sharing a quiet life with Nancy Shevell, his wife of over a decade, and surrounding himself with music, family, and memory. His health is steady, his gait deliberate. No longer the bounding lad in a mop-top suit, Paul now walks slowly but firmly through life, often with a guitar strapped on his back or a Pentax camera swinging from his shoulder. And yet, the man refuses to be still. In February 2025, he closed out Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special with songs from Abbey Road, his voice slightly worn but powerful. Just days earlier, he played a surprise show at New York's Bowery Ballroom. 575 seats, sold out in 30 minutes. No press release, no live stream, just presence. He mentors quietly now, offering encouragement to younger musicians, advising on structure, tone, the unseen rules of harmony. He doesn't preach, he listens. A veteran mentor who knows that legacies aren't written in interviews, they're built in what we pass down. His impact on culture hasn't dimmed. The Beatles' '64 documentary, co-produced with Martin Scorsese, premiered last year with Sean Lennon and Olivia Harrison by his side. It wasn't just a tribute, it was a torch passing. Proof that this cultural impact wasn't momentary, it was generational. Still, Paul finds joy in the little things. He loves decorating the house for Christmas. "It's a thing I do," he said with a smile. He still makes tea just the way Linda liked it. He FaceTimes his grandkids. He walks the garden with his dog and hums unfinished melodies to the wind. These are the details where legacy breathes. And when asked what drives him to still compose, to still record, with an album underway even now, he simply shrugs and says, "One of my biggest thrills for me still is sitting down with a guitar or a piano and just out of nowhere trying to make a song happen." For a man who once wrote Eleanor Rigby and Hey Jude, to still find awe in the unknown, that is the purest kind of redemption. His life has been a long sobriety journey from chaos to clarity, not in addiction, but in emotion. From the boy who lost his mother and never spoke of it, to the man who cried openly for Linda and taught his family that grief is not weakness, but witness. And perhaps that's why his mantra, shared during his darkest days, still resonates. It seemed the only thing to do, to show up, to love, to cry, to keep going. And so now, as Paul McCartney moves gently through his twilight years, still writing, still singing, still remembering, we're left with one final image. An old man in a simple room, a cup of tea cooling beside a piano, a Christmas tree glowing softly behind him. He picks up his bass, the same one he once played reluctantly, and begins to hum a new tune, unfinished, unknown, but entirely his. If that isn't a comeback, what is? If that isn't a legacy, who has one? Thank you, Paul, for the music, for the honesty, for the lessons on loss, love, and starting again. If this video moved you, let us know in the comments. Share your favorite memory or song, and if you believe in honoring those who are still here, who still sing while they can. We invite you to like, subscribe, and join us on this journey. Because sometimes, something will happen. And when it does, let it be.